Oh, we are live on LinkedIn. It's just not showing. We've been live this whole time.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Great.
it's just not showing on our view. I just clicked through. So okay. Hi, welcome.
Okay, great.
Happy Happy New Moon, Dimpho.
Hi, happy new moon.
Oh, it's been quite one already. I know that you've spoken to someone. I've had a morning. I'm like, okay, Leo. Remind me your sun.
Gemini.
Okay,
So I also have Uranus and
okay,
my Gemini.
okay.
Yeah.
So all the things, and like as an Aries, I feel the Leo and the fire today. So it'll be such an awesome, magical, fiery day for me. So Dimbo, thanks so much. This has been such a cool new paradigm vibe way of collaborating, existing, working together uh, with ease. You and I came together on LinkedIn and we're like, hey, let's meet. And a month later, here we are on a live together.
Yeah. Just from the first conversation, you kind of mentioned it would be great to do a LinkedIn Live. And I was like, yeah, it really would be. And, ruminated a little bit, set some intentions actually at that time that it would happen. And the timing just worked out perfectly. Even with Mercury retrograde, thinking this wasn't live, and it actually is. It's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah, this all just came together. Yeah.
Hey, Mercury, what's up?
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like the whole goal of having today is we were chatting, we were vibing, we were talking about all the astrology going on this summer, and which led us beautifully into today's new moon. But I know you wanted to take us back, us just take us back for a minute. Take
Yeah.
us back to like we can go back to like March when the age of Aquarius kind of began, or wherever you want to start.
Yeah.
What's besides all of the like the humaning, the world challenges, like everything that's happening in the physical world right now.
Mhm.
Take us through what's going on in 25 overall, a little bit, especially what.
Yeah, just the high level. Yeah. So, yeah, it honestly, 2025 in many, many ways is a year of deep change and deep transformation. As you mentioned, it is like we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and um, some of the big ways that we're feeling that, actually, just to touch on it, but because it's going to be a big theme for us for many years, is Pluto moving into Aquarius, and Pluto being the planet of power, uh, has moving in from Capricorn, which is kind of the sign of structure and form and kind of institutions and the ways that we've kind of always done things traditionally.
Mhm.
Um, Moving now into Aquarius, Aquarius being an air sign, so Capricorn being earth, kind of like really grounded material, into an air sign, Aquarius, that is also a visionary, future oriented, thinking about humanity and the collective and how we can build systems that work towards, creating societies that are cohesive and support each other. That's what we've started shifting into, and of course that's going to be a long transit, so we'll be feeling those shifts come in, over time. But that really was, to me, the big kind of starting point to all of this. And of course, in order for us to get to those new visions, we have to start to transform. And part of transformation means, coming to terms with what is it that's still in our lives, in our systems, in our institutions, that no longer work, that aren't serving us, that are keeping us rigid and stuck, and not able to really shine our full light and our brightness into this world. And so, yeah, we did have some bumpy astrology personally. I think many of us in March and April. I won't go into the details of the astrology, but it really, like at that time, that was, there were a couple of things happening that were asking us to kind of review, reassess, figure out where we might to release patterns around communication and relationships, and what really is supporting us to be in service, and what is kind of limiting our ability to shine. Because this also was an Aries, so Aries being, about ourself and how we're kind of going out and doing things in the world. Um, So that really was kind of the March and April beginning of it. And now we're just in I mean, we're in some really big major changes at a collective level. We had Neptune, which is the planet of kind of idealism and fantasy, dreaming. You can kind of think of it that way. But that planet just began a new 13-year transit in Aries. And Aries, again, kind of being the I like to think of Aries as like the warrior as well. But like, so Neptune and Aries is like sacred warrior.
Yes.
It's like, right?
Yes.
Like, how can we start to like move, like use our energy to kind of move in this way that's fighting for these values and ideals that we know are going to support our collective. There are some, yeah, it's going to be bumpy though, because the last time that Neptune was in Aries was I think it was 150 years ago, so 1861 to 1871. And many astrologers have talked about how challenging that time was in terms of American Civil War, abolition of slavery. It also was the starting of the International Red Cross was founded, and that was a humanitarian aid agency for victims of war. So a lot around like themes of war, of moving towards freedom and liberation. So yeah, I think, again, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Planets, move in these cycles. And to me, that's what I love about astrology, is it kind of gets us thinking back again to like what was happening at this time and what can we learn from that time, and how might we see some of those themes come around again. But it's not that it has to repeat exactly the way that it did. I think, given that there are some other things that are different in our time now that might hopefully give us a new path and a new direction for this kind of change.
I tell you what, and I think that's part of what is so hard right now for so many, is that the way that everything is unfolding in the world right now, that is harming humans
and planet.
and,
we're yeah.
Dear Gaia, dear Mother Earth, yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. It's all unfolding exactly as it's meant to, so that humans can be like, I don't want to keep going. It's what you said. It's gonna get so hard and hurtful and harmful and disruptive to our daily lives until all of humanity is like, oh, I want to move differently because I realize this doesn't feel good. So imagine, and that's not me justifying on any degree, like the harm that every human is feeling right now on some degree, on some level. It's more about understanding that that's just how, like, the depths of which we feel the disruption is actually how far we got from, and this is my personal belief on it, how deeply we feel the harm is equal to how far we've gotten from being a good steward for thyself, thy neighbor, and thy land, which that's my personal belief. So it's like, it's gonna keep keeping until there's like that big final flip, or Gaia just says, all right, y'all done, I'm gonna restore. Which, speaking of which, the Grand Canyon, white sage, like she's trying to cleanse, right? Like, I don't know. So,
can you tell me the story?
There was last week, I think, there was a white sage fire at the Grand Canyon.
Oh, whoa. Yes, that is definitely Gaia cleansing.
Gaia's like,
wow.
I was gonna be like facetious about it and write something like, Gaia said, move your asses. Like, I got this. Like,
yeah.
Like, I got this. She's
Yeah. And I mean, the floods too, right? Like, not, again, in no way do I, like, it's awful what is happening around the world and the way that people are suffering. And water is cleansing, and our earth is suffering, and she is trying to cleanse, because we're not doing it. If we
We're
don't
not doing
if
it.
we don't shift and change the way that we move in this world and the way we relate to one another and to her, um, she will do it. And you know what you mentioned as well, even earlier, but you know, you said that it was your belief, but I really do, like, if I think about it from like even a philosopher's standpoint, and thinking back to like, you know, Western philosophy that arose around the time of Enlightenment, and like Descartes and like I think therefore I am, that really was a rise in a time of humans. And again, we can, there's definitely aspects of you know, information and power hierarchies in relation to this. But that
Right.
kind of dominant frame in thinking was that humans, the value in humans is our minds. And that really did pull a lot of our attention and awareness into our minds being the place for understanding what it means to be human. You know, thinking, designing, intellectualizing, innovating, that really is how we've built the world over the last kind of couple of hundred years. And I also have come across an indigenous prophecy from the Amazon that talks about the eagle and the condor. And they too talk about the eagle being a representation of the northern hemisphere, and also being a representation of the mind, and how the eagle and the condor were going to separate. The eagle would kind of rise into power, but that would lead to an imbalance, where the mind has sort of taken over an awareness of the body, and the condor being the representation of kind of body wisdom and earth-based wisdom. And the prophecy was from like 1490s, and it prophesied that 500 years later there would be a uniting of these two. And I think part of that shift and change that you're talking about is that, like, that move into this new is saying we need to reclaim both parts. We need to unify both parts. We can't just operate from our minds. We have to tune into deeper wisdoms that come from our body, that come from our heart, that come from our gut. These are other wisdom centers, though, and our spirit, our soul. We need to reconnect to that and have that aligned with the mind be the way that we move forward.
I feel like this is one big intention setting for the new moon.
Yeah.
We get to write this in the sky tonight as like a
Yes.
blank canvas, you know?
Mhm.
And something that really resonates with what you said, we talk a lot about, we meaning like those who vibe with this topic and the whole transformation and like authenticity.
Mhm.
The old way, the new way, it's bigger than duality, like we were talking about before we jumped on. It's like again, on the soul spirit perspective, there's no good, bad, right or wrong. Everything just is.
Mhm.
And we as humanity has gotten so only laser focused
Yeah.
on the one truth, one way.
Yeah.
And that has been energetically in the masculine, which
Mhm.
is action, order, structure, hierarchy, power,
Mhm.
to where that's really been the only focus. And it's now, like you were talking about, that's the imbalance that we're seeing play out beyond nature, but in humanity. And like we're seeing it so strongly now. And so many people have been like, I feel differently. What's going on?
Mhm.
Well, whether you vibe with astrology or source or God or higher power, anything that you vibe with,
Yeah.
a shift is coming through so that we can remember as
Mhm.
humans that it's not about ignoring the mind or the masculine energy, or no, it's to your point, bringing it together so that I always say to my clients, like when I'm coaching, we work within energy centers. And it's not that the brain doesn't get airtime. We might ask her to take a break, like, hey, have her go grab a snack or something. Like give us a second. And let's get into the heart or the gut, or let's see what else is going on in there. It's allowing all of yourself to get airtime and not to supersede any of the energy centers. The same is true out there in the wild, in systems, in institutions, in the workplace, in day-to-day society. It's allowing, okay, I have this immediate, well, and as I walk through this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if I were telling myself this 5 years ago in my corporate autopilot vibe, I'd be like,
yeah, for sure.
like, I don't have time to do this. Okay. But and the ask now is to give yourself the allowance to pause and say, this person, place, or thing in front of me makes me feel some type of way. Is this mine? Like, is this in me? Does this hurt inside of me that is coming up as an invitation for me to look at? Or is this completely not mine? And do I get to just keep my peace and like walk away? Or like, is it training? Did I learn this? Is this mine? It's that intentional pause to see what is actually authentic to you, what is actually yours. And it's so interesting once you, and again, you got to create the time. So if you're hearing this and you're like, nah, okay, all right. You free will.
Anything we say, take it or leave it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Just at the beginning. Yeah. Take it or leave it. Anything. But if anything vibes with you, like it could be something that you could pull a thread on, which is really beautiful. But giving yourself that allowance to have a moment to say, but seriously, is this mine? Is this something that I saw in my childhood, in people that raised me, in people that kind of brought me through young adulthood? Did I see them do that, or is this truly me? And what we're being asked right now is to shed what is not ours, or to simply, and maybe you can't shed it right away, that's like a tall order, but it's simply to bring an awareness to it and consider moving differently based on what maybe it's not your brain, maybe it's your heart, maybe it's your gut, maybe it's your butt.
Who knows?
Which is your root chakra, of course. But like, who is asking you to show up differently, and what is that? And when people are like, well, why do I have to do that? You don't have to do anything. And it's going to create this push-pull in you because there's something coming up in you that is asking you to consider something different than what your immediate reaction is. And that's the whole shift we're talking about, like going from a place where we've been skewed only in the one way and beautifully coming into, what if all 8 things are true at once? Oh, that's cool. But our human brains are like, can't do that. Overload, right?
Yeah, for sure. Totally. Yeah. I love that way of framing it, and even the awareness in itself. Like I really like to think about the fact that, shining a light on a dark place changes that dark place. So even awareness itself is already starting to transform, right? Like sometimes we don't need to do anything, just becoming more aware of what we're doing kind of automatically, and then even just asking the question, well, where did this come from? And with I think for Uranus and Gemini, so that's another transit we're going through right now, another fairly large one. I feel like that's sort of the transit that's helping us with this like curious questioning and using that curious questioning to like just change up our patterns and our ways of kind of doing things, and finding new, innovative, cool and interesting ways of doing things that we might not have even imagined possible before. Because Uranus really is kind of a planet of sort of like ingenious kind of sparks of change. So yeah, and Gemini kind of being a thinker, but also seeing duality, seeing all sides, seeing different perspectives, and then that combination of like changing up the way we're seeing things and seeing multiple perspectives, and then possibly finding a different way to move forward and to do differently. Yeah.
Having the audacity.
Yeah.
Having the audacity.
Yeah.
To show up in a way that might not be pleasing to others, but feels so lit up inside your entire field.
Yes.
And not feeling responsible for the way someone is showing or is responding to your authentic self. Having the audacity to like piss someone off and not to like take it on is exceptional. It's not yours. It's not yours.
Yeah.
And that's the part of like the overall, that's I feel, Dimpho, that's part of why a lot of people don't want to recognize or give awareness to the way that they truly want to feel, because it might feel disruptive to their daily life, because suddenly they're like, whoa, no one around me feels like I don't feel like my authentic self around anybody around in my immediate space. Well, imagine how jarring that can be, because then it's like, wait, do I like blow everything up in my life in order to feel authentic? Again, not feeling that extremity, right? And go ahead, I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Not feeling that extremity. The changes are here and the changes are coming. But I really do believe that even just setting our intention on that's the path that I want to take, those shifts and changes will come slowly, and it does not have to be a massive 180. That does happen, but it doesn't have to be, and it can be quite jarring. So,
I did that.
I did that too.
Okay, so Dimpho and I both did that. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, I had been, since I was a child, like I knew I had these like really amazing non-human kind of gifts and abilities, and pretty quickly they were mainstreamed out of me, whether it be through my lived experience as a child, in school, etc. And then in my mid-30s, I started to remember them. I started to get that turn that I was talking about earlier, which was I was masking up and reacting the way that I had been taught. And there started to become a deep ache within me because something wasn't matching. There was this constant, I used to tell my therapist it was like it was my storm, because there was this constant push-pull. I started to inch out a little bit in my very staunch corporate executive job, and I became the leader of the Women's Employee Resource Group. And I began coaching, mentoring hundreds of women through that group. And I was like, oh, my magic, my unique brilliance is I have the ability to find with a flashlight or your light, your unique brilliance, your magic, and I shine a light on it so that you can not only see it, but you then get to decide how you want to move with that light. And it's like, that felt amazing. And I couldn't have articulated it back then the way that I just did.
Right.
And then a few years later, when I went to quote unquote pass the torch to the next leader, I went back into my only my day job. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Not letting you up anymore.
I felt like I don't know if it ever lit me up, but I'm an Aries. I get shit done. So like the productivity probably took on its own life for a long time. So that experience of stepping away from the resource group, and then also paired with psychological abuse in the workplace that I beautifully gravitated toward, because that was my safe space or my comfortable place. I said, oh, today's my last day. That's it. And I didn't have my, I didn't know I was going to be founder of Unlock the Magic. I didn't know I was going to be a coach. I didn't know I was going to be a healer. And it's all these gonna be's. Or the ask right now is like to set down to like the shoulds or some days.
Yes.
Who are you? What are you? I was always a coach, always a healer, always this spirit. And I now get to, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy. Okay. To the tune of like, I closed up my 401k to like figure this out. And that's, and then it's like, oh, okay. A lot of people are like clutching pearls right now. It's like, you did what? That's the one way though, too. We've been taught, and I could get into a whole thing about how 401ks have not aged well. Anyway, I digress. So that's how I imploded, or uprooted. I wouldn't say imploded because it was such beautiful destruction. It hurt really bad. In a lot of different ways. I released a lot of people from my life, family, friends, colleagues, my really cushy, big 6-figure job. So because I feel, from my personal experience, I feel that I wasn't allowing myself, from the moment I got that aha, I wasn't allowing myself to see all the possibilities. It was just like still putting a Band-Aid on. It's like, okay, I'm in this resource group now, so I'm fine. No, I wasn't fine. So it's, again, I got to the point where I had to move. I had to blow up everything because I hadn't allowed thus far to even consider that more than one thing could be true at that time.
Right.
I was feeling beholden to the only way that I was taught or knew.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of background about, like, yes, I blew up my life, and now, like, I'm still beautifully going to be figuring it out as long as I'm on this plane. And I'm finally like getting to be okay with that. My root chakra is like, are we sure? Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there. So
And I love what you shared at the end as well, because I think there is a part to this path that is full of uncertainty, right? Like when you start opening up to the many possibilities that exist instead of the one path that you've kind of been told is the way to do it, it is uncertain because, until you make a choice and a decision, you don't know what's coming next. And I just so resonate with that. I mean, my kind of big shift, I guess I did make a choice that started the beginning of that, but I had also been working kind of corporate in a bank and then in healthcare. My background's in engineering, so I was doing very kind of masculine mind-based type of work, very structural, organized, systematic. And I loved it. I really do love engineering and the kind of work that I was doing. But I started having these questions bubble up inside of me about, really, in essence, I started thinking deeply about, like, what is engineering for? And what are we really doing for this world? And, like, how could we maybe be doing things differently? So that brought me to do my PhD, but that choice to do the PhD is what unlocked all of that you're kind of talking about. I also had been, I would say, quite intuitive and felt deeply connected to some of my kind of spiritual capacities as a kid. And as I got older, I really kind of suppressed that. And again, it was also, this society around me kind of said that stuff is weird and doesn't really make sense. So I started not believing it in myself either. But working entirely in that kind of more corporate realm got me to a place where, again, my attention and awareness was just so focused on my mind and my mental realm that I felt completely disconnected from like my body and my heart. And I truly felt like I was kind of, like, I enjoyed the work, but I felt a bit like a zombie going through the motions. Like I was good at what I did, but it wasn't really truly lighting me up either. And yeah, as I started the PhD, that just created a bit more freedom and space and flexibility for me to start exploring some of these other deeper questions and deeper parts of myself that I'd really suppressed for a while. And I think that also speaks again to, you know, the point that you made about part of what this time is asking us for is for us to find those pockets of time and moments of time. And I definitely also acknowledge and recognize that it was a deep privilege for me to be able to get that during my PhD. But similar to you, that was a choice. I knew that I was going from a well-paying job, you know, on track to kind of doing really well in my career. And like, you know, I had a good trajectory ahead of me. And I chose to leave that to become a student again.
Yeah.
And see what that might open up for me. And it opened up so much. So yeah, and part of what this journey has brought me to is also like a remembering of how Reiki, for example, Reiki energy healing had actually helped me as a child. I'd gone through some really difficult times when I was younger. And I was able to remember that as I was kind of in this journey in the space, and went back to learn how to do Reiki energy healing myself as well. And but again, this path has not been easy, and part of it also is like it also involves a deep unlearning. As you mentioned, there's the shedding, but there's also lots of unlearning.
Yeah.
And through that process, there's a lot of questioning and doubting, and you know, it is part of the journey, part of the process. To get to a point where I can even be live here on LinkedIn today on a new moon in Leo, which is beautiful. Also, sun and
Yay.
like just feeling that fiery courage and bravery to show myself and shine our light, and not be afraid of saying what is a truth, right? What is an experiential truth for me? That definitely has taken some time to get to, but it is possible, and we're here.
We're here. I just checked in again. I'm like, I'm pretty certain we're live.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we had at least one LinkedIn user though that did say hi, so I imagine there was someone
perfect.
there. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was you.
No, that wasn't me. So I figured someone's there.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hi. We can't see who you are, but thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Dimpho, so one of the things that I have when I left corporate, like, and I was so laser focused on is like trying to help people understand what we do, what we feel. The thing is, hear me out, everybody. No matter what your belief system is, no matter what you subscribe to, God, source, universe, we're not only human, or like
Nope.
we're human
It's
and
not just the physical. Yeah.
And it feels like and whether it's like there's been so much this year, obviously more about aliens, and listen, if you feel scared by that kind of stuff, if you feel scared, if you don't like talking about anything that's beyond the human because it's just too much to consider for, like, again, our human brains are not meant to keep us happy. They're here to keep us safe and like in the familiar. So of course, when we start to try to venture out by any degree that about like what else could be true outside of our human selves, of course it can be overwhelming is the least of it, but and of course throughout history, because we've been imbalanced or skewed only in the one way that we are only human, of course anything outside of that has had to be wrong. So there's been judgment and shame over the years. If you know, if you're not, if you haven't been, again, taking a step back and considering that there is no right or wrong. It is only about the resonance at which you feel inside of you. If you really dig learning about UFOs and like sightings, go watch the channel. Go have fun. Like, go play. And if you and like the quote unquote way, and because the reason I started down this pathway, Dimpho, is a little bit different, but the way that I was like coming out of corporate, I was like afraid to share, I think, with my old mainstream colleagues or friends that
People who
like,
come to you.
hey,
No.
I feel energy.
Yeah.
They're like, that's woo.
Yeah.
That's creepy, or that's woo, or that's different, or that's this, or that's that.
Yeah.
You get to discern and decide who is aware, or that you bring into your unlearning, your shedding, your remembering, your resonance, your feelings. You get to decide who gets that, and who doesn't get that, because when we talk about this new way of existing, the old metrics, if you will, may or may not land with you. So, for instance, um, I'll talk to a certain generation, and they'll be like, "Oh, how's your business going?" They want to hear numbers,
Yep.
dollars,
Yep.
and I don't want to talk about dollars and numbers. I want to talk about how I feel and the impact I'm making in the world.
Yeah.
And that's not that doesn't quite match up. So you always, the reason I'm sharing all this is because if anything that we're sharing resonates with you and vibes with you, don't be afraid to discern who you share that with. I know that you're going to be excited and want to get out there and like shout from the mountaintops. Great. And please don't get discouraged if everybody in your orbit isn't like championing you on something that is not exactly what they might be used to. So it's this ask to go really back into what, like literally, what feels good, what doesn't feel good in your chest, in your gut, in your throat. These are all different energy centers to kind of check in with. Your only ask, back to Dimpho's point, is like just the simple awareness of what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Is there's nothing you need to actually do about it until you're certainly prepared or ready on your own time to do that.
Yes, very much so. And really the timing is like, that's such a big part of it, that the timing is your own timing. There's no right or wrong for timing, and you'll know. You'll know, and if you check into those centers, you will know what timing makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always like, I consider people listening or watching this and they're like, cool for you two, but like I'm in this like really 3D box world. I was too, so was Dimpho.
Yep.
And we found on our own way, now again, because I didn't give myself the allowance to consider what was ringing my doorbell, as I like to say.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I had to move.
Yeah.
There was no choice. I had to. Because the internal ache was the only thing that I could feel, and what was like reverberating through my body. I was getting sick. I was like physically very ill. So it was manifesting in my physical body. So I keep bringing that up because bringing yourself to, on any degree, from I can't to maybe I could. And maybe it starts with just you sitting still and just like being like that thing that you used to love. Start small. I always go back to this moment when I was a kid where I used to go out back in the backyard, and I used to love taking sticks and like digging in the yard. I don't know why. And I would on a swing set, I would lay on my belly on the swing and I would like draw in the dirt with a stick like under the swing. I used to love doing that. I would do it for hours.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I recently well, I went back to my family home in South Africa, and I've been back a number of times over the years. And the last time I was back there, I remember just how much I loved climbing the tree. And I'm like, okay, I'm 34. What's stopping me? Like, I'm gonna go climb the tree. I used to love it. I used to so much
Aren't
time
we,
up there. I'm gonna go do it.
aren't we supposed to be more in charge when we're an adult?
Right?
Like,
Yeah. Like, aren't you supposed to have the freedom as an adult to do the things you actually
because
love? And
like honestly, as a kid, if you went to
yeah,
climb a tree, you probably had an adult of some sort being like, "Don't do that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're gonna hurt yourself." Well, as an adult, go climb the damn
Go
tree.
climb the tree. Yeah. Go enjoy being up there with the birds and the breeze. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we forgot that we do have free will. Whenever someone says something as an absolute truth, and my clients both love and hate that I ask this, I'm like, "Is that true?" And they're like, "Yes, it's true." I'm like, "Who said?" I'm not being a dork. I'm not trying to be like contrary. I'm just like, literally, who said that?
Yeah.
And we trace it back, and it's been something in the mainstream or something from our parents or something that is not ours. But I'm like, okay, so now that you've discovered who said it, do you agree?
Yeah.
Is it true for you?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest parts, or like the hardest parts about unlearning, is because you're taking your lifetime of lived experience in contrast to like this moment in time.
Yeah.
Listen, I still have those moments. I like heard my mom through what I said
Yeah.
a couple days ago. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey. So, and I'm just able to, without judgment toward anyone, especially myself.
Yeah.
I get to notice it. I get to be aware of it, and I get to decide, ooh, is that mine anymore? Nope, it's not. And I put it down and I moved differently.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. And I love that, even as an example of the little shifts, right? That we don't have to go out and make these big shifts. And maybe you and I did because we were just suppressing so much and we're resisting it. But if, we started that journey a little bit earlier of starting to make those little shifts, maybe we wouldn't have had to make those big changes. And I also like to think of it from, even from like psychology perspective and thinking about the brain and how it works, and that, if we kind of have our comfort zone, which is the safety zone, and that's where we kind of continue to do things that feel comfortable and habitual, and sometimes that we're not even aware of. And then we can move up just a little bit, and that's a bit of the stretch zone where we are starting to now experience something different, maybe do something different, and that starts to shift and transform the way even our brain is working in relation to that thing. But there is a possibility of going a bit too far into what is kind of considered that danger zone. So again, to acknowledge that, there are ways that, as we're talking about this here, and if energy makes no sense to you, as it did for me many years ago as well,
Right.
you don't have to go from, okay, now suddenly I believe. You don't have to do that. You can really just start with, okay, what is my heart saying? What's my gut saying? Those can be tiny shifts that are part of your physical body and being, that you can connect to, and slowly over time those kinds of shifts and changes will start to bring you into a different way of being. And we just keep doing that and moving from there. And to me, again, that's what all of this is asking us for. The other thing around the year of change is that it's the year of the snake as well, in Chinese zodiac. And thinking about the snake changes completely from its birth to death in terms of the number of times that it sheds its skin, but it doesn't change its entire physical structure in one go. It, bit by bit, just does little bits of shedding and regrowing and shedding and regrowing. And I see that that's what this journey and this path is about, is like we are taking these like small steps and actions that bring us closer back to who we were as kids, and the things we love to do, and the
Before we got to, well, again, depending on what you subscribe to, but like before you got to Earth, it's like who are you? Like no, like literally the only truth in this existence is that you do exist as a unique individual, and no one can do what you do how you do it. It is such it's like it's DNA, and our DNA is getting upgraded at a cellular level right now in this big shift. So that's why beautifully through Dimpho and I today, like we felt so called to share with everybody on this new moon, setting the intentions toward any degree, toward who you are. And I want to go to something really quickly, Dimpho, because you beautifully said it. And I'm going to channel, like, 6 years ago, Amy. When you said, and we talked about this, like feeling back into your body, a lot of us don't know how to do that. We forgot. We forgot. So maybe we could spend a couple minutes talking about how to feel back into your body. And this word authenticity or authentic has gotten pretty blah, 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 jargony. So I'd love to touch on that a little bit so that we could disband some of the jargony or blah, blah around it to see what that could look like for individuals. So what do you feel like? How did you start to feel again?
Well, so one of the practices for me was meditating. Like meditating definitely is a great practice to start to feel into the body. And even then, I know that can be hard.
I laugh because I'm not a meditator. So I'll talk about my experience for those.
And again, I think there are multiple pathways to this, right? Like we all find what works for us. So for me, it definitely was, well, meditating was one avenue in the sense that helped my mind start to shift towards my body. But one of the ways that I actually started to reconnect with my body was just also doing more physical things. So during the pandemic, I actually started dancing, and that was just a way that I could start to connect to my body in a way that I'd not for a while. So I think the combination of those two things really was the starting point for me.
Beautiful.
The
way I started to feel, because every time I go to meditate, it's not that I can't, it's that my brain wants to get involved. So and I haven't quite mastered the let it in, let it out, or like let your brain move like a movie reel. So the way I started to feel is that for the whole, like the bulk of my 40 years of life, I felt like part of my brilliance was to be able to answer on a dime and not be able to have to think about anything. I would just have it. So that's what I was hardwired. Well, once I started to remember about my gifts, that wasn't serving me, like that answering right away. And it took a lot of practice to get to say, like, I would answer right away and then I'd be like, is that true? And I would have to take an intentional pause. And for me, it's in my gut. My gut would immediately be like a yes or no. Like, is that true? Is that real? And so I did have to slow down a little bit. I did have to, whether it's think about it, sit with it, feel it. I let whatever I just witnessed, person, place, or thing, or words, I let it come into my body and feel where it landed. And depending on where it landed, that's how I was able to discern how I felt about it. Or if it was mine, if it was my conditioning. I asked my brain to stop shooting from the hip, as it were. Like I was like, hang on a second, brain. Hang on. I love you. You're so smart. Hang on. And that's how I started to work with my brain to say, I know you want to answer right now. Can we just have 1 second? And it's, again, every thought, every word matters. What you say to yourself, how you feel about yourself. So a lot of times when you want to go full throttle into feeling, you could shut down your brain. Be mindful of that, because she doesn't want to be she or he does not want to be shut down either. So it's allowing everybody to be part of the process. And I do have to tell you, it does take an intentional moment to sit still with what's happening. And the other thing that I always will recommend is, if you're only up here in your brain, you're only in your mind, try to send your focus of whatever's coming in your brain, try to send that into your heart. Like literally watch it go from your brain to your heart. Notice how that feels.
Yeah.
Is there any difference? There are endless ways to get into feeling again.
Yeah.
But maybe start with the word authentic. What does authentic mean to you? And how could you trust that authentic means something that is only yours out of the billions of people? Only yours.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the beauty for me of authenticity, well, before I share that, just the beauty of what you just shared as well. I actually really loved hearing you describe your process, because in many ways, to me, that does feel like what happens in meditation. And because there are many different types of meditation, but in many ways, like what you described is like your own kind of practice of mindful awareness, which is what the practice of meditation is, right? Mindful awareness. That's really what it is. Mindful awareness. And like, even to the point of kind of visualizing a thought in the mind and bringing it down to the heart. I also just want to share that I'm someone who, like, I don't see things behind, like in my third eye. Like when I close my eyes, I don't actually see visually, but I can still do that intentional awareness, like where is my focus right now, and bring that focus from my mind to my heart. So even if you feel like, oh, I can't really see or visualize anything, you can still kind of set that intention of I'm just moving my attention and my awareness through that process. Yeah. And then, yeah, in terms of authenticity, at least for me, this has been the experience, is that it's an ever evolving discovery. It feels like as I shed a little bit more, I find a little bit more of what feels like my authentic self. And then there's another layer that comes up to be shed. And then there's another part of me that I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that feels like my authentic self. So yeah. But to think about what authenticity feels like in my body. I mean, you talked about this before as well, of that, like, that feeling that what you were doing just wasn't working for you anymore. I think at the beginning, it actually is easier to figure out what is not authentic, what is not me. Because as you start becoming more aware and attuned to your body and to what you're feeling in those different centers, you really start to feel that thing that's telling you this is not me. And for me, that sort of started the process of releasing that, to start to figure out what is me and what's coming to the surface.
It was actually the opposite for me. I was so masked and overriding that I didn't know right away. Or I don't. It was harder for me at the beginning.
Yeah, no, harder for me too. Like it really was a, what am I not?
Like, yeah. So again, take what lands, leave the rest from this conversation. Dimpho, as we start to wrap up, which is wild, going through this, we call this July transformation, and July has been pretty brutal for me. Every single life lesson has smacked me in the face all month long. And I'm
I mean, you have Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and now both retrograde. So you're, yeah.
So July has been brutal. And like, the ask is to not bypass and be like, everything's for me. Awesome. No, feel your feels. So feel your feels to the depth of which it makes you almost uncomfortable. Because when you feel to that depth, you are able to expand beyond that limitation that which made you feel uncomfortable in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. I'm not gonna lie. Not fun. So, and you don't have to do anything. You have free will, but it's going to keep coming. if you don't consider the moment, find an ally like Dimpho and I to help you through that, because the reward of that expansion is something that is so indescribable when you get to that place of expansion, because you get to start feeling so much bigger than your own 3D lived experience.
Yeah, yeah. And part of that is the really feeling, you know, also just to kind of, for some who are kind of thinking about and hearing that we're talking a lot about self. Yeah, part of the journey is about self, because
Yes.
as Amy was talking about that expansion, when you start to get to that place of expansion, you have more capacity for more people, for feeling that connection to others. But you can't do that when you are feeling so limited and constrained and small, and it, you know, more comes in ability to connect and serve once you've been able to be with yourself and really let the beauty and the gifts and the talents and the light shine through. Yeah.
This whole vibe that we're moving into a space of selfish. First of all, being selfish, let's reclaim that as mastery of self. Because when you do that, when you know and trust and feel yourself to the fullest expression, you actually get to choose and foster and nurture all that you love that's around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually true. Whereas we are, folks, the vibe of putting everyone first before yourself, that's not the vibe. That's the old way.
That's the old way.
The shift is to getting so in tune with yourself that you, to your point, you can serve outward. You shine your light so that reverberates outward.
Yeah.
And everybody, suddenly you look around and it's just a sea of lighthouses, because we've all found our light.
And then we're all co-creating a beautiful, magical, love-filled world together.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we do it.
Yeah. To become that steward for thyself, thy neighbor, thy land.
Yes.
That's what we're moving into.
Yes.
That's the transformation. That's what we bring to you today.
Mm-hmm.
May you,
Beautiful,
on this new moon, set the intentions of the world, the life that you do want to create, and not from an ego, from a deep soul desire.
Yeah.
Is it the money, or is it actually the well-being and safety and stability that you want? Get super clear. That's, a lot of people say that and they're like, but is it about the material or like the surface level thing? Is that really what you're wanting, desiring, or is it a few layers deeper? That's what we're being asked to manifest and set intentions for tonight in this new moon in Leo, in this fuck around and find out energy.
Yes. Beautiful. Oh, I love it. And I love that we came full circle at the end. That was beautiful.
I adore you, Dimpho. I feel like maybe this will be a series.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be so many pivotal moments ahead of us where we will have new conversations to bring in here. So.
It feels so good. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your soul. Thank you for doing your work. Thank you for moving through this.
Thank you too. And it's so wonderful to connect with you and to share the space and this energy. And thank you so much to those of you who are online. I see there are a couple that have also said thank you. And I know there was a comment here as well. And yeah, we just really appreciate you sharing your energy with us as well. You know, we felt you here, even though you're not with us in the space. And yeah, may we set, you know, really meaningful intentions tonight for really what is going to be a kind of 6-month period, right, to the full moon in Leo.
Good call.
Those, yeah.
Amazing reminder.
Yeah.
The next 6 months, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, Dimpho.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye.